Okay, so let's start this video off. I am going to start with obviously my base and how I prep my face and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to be showing you all my different brushes that I use, my techniques, all that sort of thing. So if you'd like to see how I do a good beginner's flawless base, then just keep on watching. I like to start off by priming my face, so like a good moisturizer and a good mattifying primer, all that sort of stuff. So I actually like to start off with one product for my lips, because sometimes, especially in this sort of weather where it's like hot, cold, never really know what the weather's going to be like, my lips can be a bit dry, so I like to start off with the MAC lip conditioner. This stuff is amazing, it's so hydrating and so good, so I like to just put this on my lips first. Okay, so now that I've prepped my lips, I like to go in for my skin. So the mattifying primer that I've been obsessed with recently is the Benefit the Professional Matte Rescue Primer. So this is actually like a gel formula and then it dries down matte. So I like to use this on everyone's, including myself, T-zones, because I feel like everyone gets a bit oily in their T-zone. I've got normal skin, and obviously on a night out when you want your base to stay on for a long time, you need something that's gonna mattify everything, you know? Otherwise you're gonna keep having to go back to the bathroom, put some more powder on, and we're not about that life. We just want to be matte, flawless, all night long. So I'm just going to put basically like a pea size on the back of my hand, and then the brush that I like to take is actually the Holy Grail Concealer Buffer. So this is really good because I feel like it's such a small, precise brush and you can really push it into your skin. So I like to just push this all over my T-zone. So obviously I feel like my pores are quite big in this area here, all over my nose. I like to put it on. For my skin, I've recently found a new product that I'm absolutely obsessed with, which is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Base. This one's like got like shea butter, vitamin C and E. It's got like lots of good stuff in it, I think. Yeah. And it's just really good. It's really moisturizing. It's well, I don't know what's going on with the hair there. It smells amazing and I'm obsessed with it. So I basically just put this everywhere everywhere else that I didn't put the matte stuff, because obviously you're not going to be putting a matte base down and then going over the top of it with like a moisturizer. If you don't have this, because obviously I think that is quite expensive, you can just go in with a normal moisturizer. One of my favorites is the Simple Kind to Skin Light Hydrating Moisturizer. You can get it from Woolworths, Priceline, all places like that, and it's so good because it doesn't like, it moisturizes your face but it doesn't sit on your skin. It kind of sinks in nicely and you don't feel sticky. Obviously if you've got dry skin, you'd probably put this all over your face rather than using the matte one, and if you've got oily skin, I would tend to stick with the gel with the gel over a majority of your face. So the foundation that I like to use is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. Ever since I used it, I've been obsessed with it. It's so good because you can do quite a light coverage if you mix it with a little bit of moisturizer, or you can do a really full coverage. Medium coverage is very buildable. I'm obsessed with it. I don't know, I've liked the colour range, the finish of it's just really nice. It's more of like a satin finish, it's not dewy or matte, which works. I'm sorry if you can hear something in the background. My brother just got in the shower and it's right next to where I film. Amazing. It's more of like a satin finish, so it's not oily and it's not matte, which is really good because obviously it's got to work as a makeup artist, it's got to work on majority of people's skin types. That's why I love this one so much. So I'm using the shade Warm Nude today because my tan's fading a little bit. I'm not to looking too crush hot, but I'm excited to actually have a face that matches my neck shortly. What I use to apply it is the Dirty 30s Big Sponge. So these come in a pack of 6 for 56 yeah, for $56.95. Obviously you can choose like this like hot pink, or you can choose the light pink ones. These are amazing. They're super squishy, you can clean them really easily, and they're really affordable as well, and they also give off a flawless base. I'm obsessed with them. I like to just put my foundation on just with like a flat foundation brush, and then blend it out with one of these. So I like to start off with maybe like 2.5 pumps on the back of my hand. Obviously that's just like a starting point, because you don't really want to waste product, or you don't want to put, you don't want to put too much on the back of your hand and never use it, because that's one thing that I always do with clients. I always put too much and then I never use foundation, and it really, really annoys me. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of streak this onto my face pretty much. So with this, rather than swiping motions, you want to use patting motions. That way it really pushes into the skin and gives a flawless finish. So just lightly patting. Obviously you want to make sure that you're going a little bit down your neck, especially if you're like me and you fake tan. Obviously you want to make sure that your neck matches your face. So basically do the same as what I did on the other side, on this side. Okay, so depending on how much coverage you want, I tend to like to put a little bit more in this, so like these sort of areas here, like especially my cheeks, not necessarily my forehead. Obviously if you've got like problem areas where you've got more pimples, then obviously you put a little bit more full coverage in those areas, but I like to put it there just so I can kind of hide my freckles, just because sometimes I feel like my freckles give me a little bit of an uneven skin tone because they're not really bright freckles. Okay, cool, that's looking good. Okay, so now for concealer. So as you can see, I've kind of left my under eyes completely bare, which is something that I like to do, just because if you put foundation and then you put concealer and then you set it, it gets very thick, and obviously that's an area that's prone to creasing. So I tend to try and not put my foundation under there, just the concealer. So unless obviously you've got really dark, heavy under eyes, then of course go for your life, that's fine. I like to use the Too Faced Born This Way in the shade Light, or I like to use the Maybelline Fit Me in the shade 20, depending on how dark or tanned I am. And I also like to use the Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Light Medium. So depending on how much coverage I want, what colour I am, that means, yeah, depending on what colour I am and stuff, then I'll kind of switch up a little bit. Basically, I just draw under, because we're using this as kind of like a highlighting technique, so, and obviously to cover up my under eye bags too. Then I'm going to be taking my Dirty 30 sponge again and just blending it out. Again, patting motions so we're not disturbing the foundation. Okay, and as you can see, we've got like a really nice blend where the foundation and the concealer has blended nicely together. So to bake under my eyes, I always like to use the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I just think this is like one of the best powders ever. I need to stock up on it before it actually isn't sold in Australia anymore, which I don't understand why, because everyone is obsessed with this stuff. Like, why? So I like to use my beauty blender and get a bit on the sponge, and then I like to push it on. But first of all, you've got to make sure that you've got no creases under your eyes, because otherwise you're basically setting the creases into place. So make sure you pat out any creases or lines that you've got underneath your eyes, and then go in with the powder. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that on there for a little while just to set in. Normally I would go ahead and set the rest of my face, but I've actually been obsessed with doing this different technique recently. I'm obsessed with it and I love it. What I like to do is I like to take the Bobbi Brown foundation stick in the shade 7.25 Cool Almond, and it's a darker shade, so it's like this sort of color. And it's the foundation stick, and I like to take a stippling brush. So this one is one of the Zoeva ones. It is the petite stippling brush, so it's a duo fiber, so it's got the short ones and then it's got the long white ones coming through. And I like to take the stippling brush and the foundation stick, and I like to just rub a little bit of product onto the stippling brush, and then lightly I like to pat it onto my face. We go around like and oh, there's a hair. Don't you hate that when you can't find where the hair comes from? So then I like to go around my forehead and like around the perimeter of my face where I put my bronzer normally, and just kind of stippling and patting this in. Using this foundation stick just because it's a foundation, so it does give like that little bit of extra coverage, and that's kind of like the area that I like a little bit of extra coverage, so kind of dig it. So then I like to set my face. So I know that like normally you're not supposed to like set your face and stuff when you've done like a cream contour, because it like kind of cancels it out, but I feel like because this is such like, it's a foundation stick, so it's not really going to change the color of it much. Well, I don't find that it does anyway. The powder that I love to use is the Australis Fresh and Flawless. This one's in the shade Darkest Brown. I'm obsessed with this powder. I literally use this on everyone. This is one of the only drugstore products that I use, and it is amazing, like hands down one of the best powders I've ever used. I don't know, it just makes your skin look so smooth, and I'm obsessed with it. So I've used this with the Holy Grail blush brush. I like this brush because it's more dense and you can actually pack a lot of product on with it, but it's also at the same time very fluffy. But I like that it's angled, so you can kind of just get around your face really quickly. It's not like you don't have to take, I don't know, you don't have to really, you just kind of go and you're done basically, and pack it on. I do lightly go over where I put the bronzer or like the cream contour. I don't put a whole lot of product there just because obviously you don't want to cancel out too much of the colouring that you've done, but basically just packing this over the rest of your face. And I like to just make sure, so where you put the bake and where you push the bake in, sometimes you get a little bit of fallout on your face. I like to just make sure that that is pushed into my skin, because if you try and swipe it away, it's going to make your foundation go patchy. I've learned that the hard way. Then I just get any random brush and just wipe away my under eye bake. So now for bronzer. So for bronzer, the two products that I'm always obsessed with when I'm tanned is the MAC Give Me Sun and the MAC Gold Deposit. These two are like a match made in heaven. I'm obsessed with them. They look great. Just obsessed. Can't say anything else. So I use these on myself. I always use the, I think it's the Real Techniques blush brush, but it's like I use it for bronzer because I really like it for bronzer. It's really dirty because I've already used it today. I apologize, but basically just like swirl it around and in circular motions, just really lightly. Sometimes you can do a bit of a line, but just make sure you're really light-handed. Cool. I always go in with the matte one first, and then I like to go with the shimmery one, which is the Gold Deposit, afterwards. So now for blush, one that I've been obsessed with for a very long time is the Hot Mama blush by The Balm. It looks really pink in the pan, but it's actually just such a nice shade that just makes you look so glowy, and it's just such a pretty shade. I got my mum hooked on it as well, so good. I like to use the Holy Grail sculpting brush. I think this is just like perfect size for like your little cheeks, but it's just like, I don't know, super fluffy, so it's angled, so it literally, like I said, it matches kind of like the shape of your cheeks really well. You can also use this brush for contour as well, if you would like to. And just lightly pat it and then kind of blend it back so it blends into the bronzer. So two of the highlighters that I've been obsessed with at the moment are the Amrezy highlighter by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It is beautiful. And the other one is the MAC Oh Darling highlighter. This just is such a nice color. I think I'm going to use the MAC one today, just because I've been using the Anastasia Beverly Hills ones like there's no tomorrow. The brush that I like to take for highlighter is the Holy Grail highlighter brush. Well, I never. And I like to just kind of like rub the brush into the pan, because obviously we like a bit of glow. Tap it off. Oh, tap it off. And then, so we're going from kind of just above where you put your blush, so maybe around here, and circular motions, really light. We're gonna go above the bronzer. And yeah, like how pretty does that look? Now I like to go in with my lips, so obviously I've put some of my lip balm on so they're nice and hydrated, and obviously I put like a little bit of foundation over them, but that's just so I get the true colour payoff of the lipstick. I think the lipstick I'm going to go with today is just my usual, just Velvet Teddy, because I feel like it just looks good on everyone. It's just such a good nude. Like I always used to think it was too brown for me, but then I look back in photos and the lipstick I used to use, that was too nude for me. Like I look like I've got like no lips because it's so pale. So I'm obsessed with this one. To sharpen up my lip line, I like to go in with my Manicure concealer brush and a little bit of the lipstick, and just really make sure that my lips aren't like hanging over, or like the lip line is not too far out and it looks silly. I also like to just go in with a little bit of concealer, so I literally get like the tiniest bit, like literally clean the whole brush off basically, and then just like dab the tiniest bit in the middle of my lips, just to kind of like create like that ombre effect, and then just pat it in with my finger like so. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish off my eyes, and then I'm going to show you the finished look. Then to set the rest of my face, I'll take my Kat Von D Lock-It Setting Spray. I'm obsessed with this one, it's one of my favorites, and spray this all over my face. And I am done. So here we have the finished look. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out a lot with like eyeshadow and stuff like that. I hope it gave you a little bit more of an in-depth sort of, you know, yeah, an in-depth sort of, what am I even trying to say? Just like a more in-depth tutorial on how to just do like a nice simple eye that still looks really glam. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!